Hello and welcome to Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falvo. On today's show, I am joined by two special guests, baseball legend and Latin Grammy nominated musician Bernie Williams, and Dr. Mark Lewis, Director of Gastrointestinal Oncology at Intermountain Healthcare in Salt Lake City, Utah. Bernie and Dr. Lewis have teamed up with Blue Fairy, the Global Liver Institute, and Nutley, New Jersey-based pharmaceutical company Eisai Inc., to launch the One Liver to Love initiative to help raise awareness about liver cancer and the importance of adopting and maintaining healthy lifestyle choices. The campaign aims to help provide information, educational resources, advocacy support services, and a sense of community for anyone impacted by liver cancer. Teresa Cronin, Vice President of Corporate Communications and Patient Advocacy at Eisai Inc., says about the campaign, Eisai is driven by our human healthcare mission to give our first thoughts to patients as well as their families, and we believe that everyone deserves quality care. From our work with patients and advocates, we know that some people living with liver cancer may feel discouraged or uncomfortable seeking medical care due to stigma, whether external or internalized against themselves. So to address this and the many challenges faced by this community, we've collaborated with partners who share our vision. It is our hope that One Liver to Love will help anyone impacted by liver cancer take back their power by understanding more about the disease, finding support within the community, and embracing healthy choices. The website, onelivertolove.com, provides information about liver cancer, the roles of different healthcare providers, and what to expect with a liver cancer diagnosis. Additionally, the website offers links to advocacy groups and other organizations to help guide those living with cancer and their caregivers. Here now to discuss One Liver to Love is Bernie Williams and Dr. Mark Lewis. Bernie, doctor, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
This is it. So exciting, Lisa. Thank you for having us.
So Bernie, I will start with you. What made you decide to get involved with raising awareness of liver disease and liver cancer?
Well, thank you so much for that question and an opportunity to tell my story. I have relatives, my mother, my uncle, and my grandfather suffer from liver disease. And I, struggle, taking care of them as a young adult. And I just wanted to, to be able to tell my story so I can raise awareness about having ways to improve our liver health. And I think it was just really important for people to know that.
Wow, that's a lot of family members, especially your mother, affected. How was that burden on you with your budding baseball career, but having that to deal with as well?
Well, it was very challenging. I have a brother that also, sort of took turns in taking care, especially my mom. I think everybody kind of rallied up as a family and show that support group that everybody needs, suffering from something like this. So it was challenging, but it was a great experience for us to have and to learn from. And I think that's probably the inspiration that I had, for me to raise awareness about this.
Dr. Lewis, what made you so passionate about getting involved in this campaign?
Yeah, thanks so much, Lisa. So as a cancer doctor, I know that no one ever wants to meet me professionally, but when patients come to my office, I see so many emotions in that first visit in particular. I see fear, of course, and anxiety, but I also see so much shame. Like they feel like, oh gosh, what did I do to bring this upon myself? And one of the things Bernie and I agree upon is no one, absolutely no one deserves cancer. And there's far too much stigma around this disease in particular. And I think someone of his stature talking about this and shining a light on the problem really erases all that and just allows us to focus on the medical side and making things as good as we can for these people in terms of their health.
Why is there a stigma around liver disease?
Yeah, so I think, the liver is a filter for what we eat and we drink. So it's become too tied, in my opinion, to things like alcohol use, especially excessive alcohol use, and also, viral illnesses like hepatitis B and hepatitis C. And, all this needless and I think inappropriate moralizing around alcohol use and behaviors that lead to hepatitis, I think has linked liver cancer to these behaviors in a manner that really makes no sense at all. When we step back, Lisa, it's really hard sometimes to tell why any one person gets cancer we understand at a very kind of high level the risk factors, but it's very, very difficult for any one person to look back on their life and say, oh, if I had done this differently, I wouldn't have developed cancer. And because of that, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, we have a blank slate. When they come to my office, I really want to establish a relationship of trust. And I never judge them, and I just want to help them. And I think it's really important that we all have that attitude towards these really unfortunate patients.
Well, that's an amazing attitude to have for a doctor. So as part of this campaign, Bernie, you developed the 4 bases of liver health, which is such a novel concept, right? I don't know where you came up with that, but love that idea. Tell us what the 4 bases are.
Well, yeah, and I really want to thank Dr. Lewis for this great commentary. I was drawing upon my experience as a baseball player, playing with the Yankees, and I came up with this analogy. The 4 bases and 4 bases of liver health, and they're centered around nutrition first and foremost. We have exercise, we have sleep, and we have mental health. And it's just some of these parts that are, really great contributors to the better liver health.
The 3 of us recently did a Facebook Live discussion on this very topic. And in regards to nutrition, Bernie, I loved how you related food shopping to running around the bases, right? When you hit a single, you're not, running up to the pitcher's mound, you're going to first base. And you use that analogy in shopping the perimeter at your local supermarket.
Yes, shopping the perimeter of the local supermarket will, try to get you to put in your body foods that are less processed, more colorful. I try to relate it to my plate. If my plate is very colorful, I know I'm doing the right thing, having the right amount of fruits and vegetables and everything else that I need in my plate.
Was that important to you when you played, having that colorful plate, or is that something that you place more importance on now?
Well, I think when I was playing, it was really important to have a well-balanced nutrition because from that, it depends my performance on the field. I could not go out there with bad fuel, going out there with the wrong amount of foods and everything that came with it, making really good choices in the things that I put in my mouth, really had a very impactful, things in my performance as a baseball player. So nutrition was definitely really important. And as I'm gotten older right now, I know that, my metabolism is slowing a little bit. I'm not able to burn those calories as fast as I used to when I was younger. So it's even more important now to keep a good nutritional habits.
Dr. Lewis, so I want to talk about the other 3 bases very quickly with you, because I think, as you progress to second and third, it kind of gets harder though, because if you have the stress of liver disease, getting exercise, I can't imagine is very difficult. Sleep can be very difficult. So talk about how you can kind of put the disease behind you to accomplish those things.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Well, I think the best news is that we don't all have to be performance athletes like Bernie. And even some motion is better than none, right? So this is physics. Body is in motion, stay in motion. And I think one of the messages we were trying to relay is it doesn't have to be that intense. As you well pointed out, when people are sick, when they're already dealing with liver disease or even liver cancer, it's going to be very difficult for them to perform at what we might consider a high level. But that shouldn't discourage us from basic movement. We talked about things that you might enjoy, you're going to do more often. So walking your dog is great. Kind of light resistance. Yoga, as we'll discuss in a minute, can actually also kind of get you rested and in an almost meditative state, ready for sleep. Sleep is, it's so underrated as a source of restoration. It's literally when our bodies and our minds have the opportunity at the end of the day to rebuild. And I think our culture, and I'm guilty of this too, is so 24/7. We have all these devices now that sort of bombard us with light and information at times when really we should be, getting into darker spaces and just allowing our thoughts to slow down rather than being hyperstimulated. So we talked about sleep hygiene. We were all in favor of naps. If there was any message that I think we made in unison the other day, we talked about, hey, listen, it's not laziness. if you need to nap at some point. It's actually incredibly rejuvenating. And then finally, and I'm super grateful to Bernie for talking about this, mental health. If I can be very honest with you, as a doctor, 99% of my training was around the physical body. And it was almost like our mental health was an afterthought. But as I mentioned the other day, our body is the hardware, our mind is the software, and it helps us run our body. So if we don't take care of that, the body is going to suffer. And we do see patients that have liver disease and liver cancer have astronomical levels of stress and anxiety and depression. And if we don't address those things, none of the other bases can be run. So that's why it's, I think, appropriately home base. It's what we come back to. So I completely agree with Bernie, and I love the 4-base mnemonic. I love remembering it. And again, it helps you to run the perimeter.
Bernie, what are some of your tips in regards to proper sleep or exercise and, most importantly, mental health?
Well, I think, for sleep, the amount of activity that you have during the day, I think is a big, it's a big determining factor whether you're going to have a good rest or not. I think if on the days that I used to be more active, those were the days that I would probably rest the best because I was, feeling, tired. So my body needed that. As far as mental health, it's really important to know that, you have a group of people surrounding you with this great support. In my case, it was my family that I had, there with me through thick and thin, really with me all those times. And having just a great mental disposition and a positive attitude could definitely go a long way. If you're dealing with, some liver disease and things of this nature.
There are so many different reasons why I'm so happy Eisai put together this campaign, because I've learned so much. But I think the number one thing that I've walked away with is how liver disease affects minority communities. Dr. Lewis, can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a lot of inequity here. We've made great strides in liver cancer and liver disease, don't get me wrong, but we know that the risk factors that lead to liver problems, liver disease, liver cancer, are sometimes twice as common in non-Caucasians as in white people. Specifically, things like hepatitis C. Hepatitis C is twice as likely to kill a Black man than a white man, and that also leads into risk of liver cancer. So we really, again, we have to get rid. I'm going to say it again and again. We have to get rid of stigma. There is no shame in having these illnesses, and in fact, we are the best prepared to help our patients with liver disease and liver cancer as we've ever been. But it's also important to realize that, you need to have a trust relationship with your doctor. You have to feel like you can tell them anything. And in return, we will do our best to help you. And I know that includes making sure that healthcare is available to as many people as possible in any community at any socioeconomic status.
Bernie, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I really love what Dr. Lewis said about, obviously the somewhat inequality, but also I just wanted to point out that, the aspect of education. The more you know about these conditions and these diseases and the things that you can do to better your health, talking to your physician and really being as educated as you can, it could definitely go a long way to help you deal with these situations as well.
So before we close out this segment, I want to dive into your personal stories. Bernie, being from the New Jersey area, we all know about your successes, and we'll get to you in a second. But Dr. Lewis, you have such an extraordinary story to share. Please do.
You're so kindly. Yeah. So as proof that no one is immune from cancer, I'm an oncologist. I'm a cancer doctor, and I've had cancer myself. So 5 years ago, I had surgery for pancreatic cancer. And, I'm thrilled to be here and happy and healthy and trying to give back to my patients. And I have to tell you, it has been eye-opening because there's absolutely no textbook, no part of medical school that prepared me like this has for seeing things through the eyes of a patient. And they are the ultimate teachers. And I've learned so much through my own experience and really empathy, right? So now I realize when I'm talking about side effects, when I'm talking about risks, these are not just percentages. These are not just abstract numbers. These have real meaning. And I now understand more than I ever did before the impact they can have on my patients and their families. And then finally, Lisa, as you know, I actually inherited cancer from my father. He died when he was 49. He had no idea that he was genetically at risk for cancer. And I got my cancer from him. And so it really makes me very attuned to the fact this is a family affair. Whether or not the cancer is hereditary, it affects families, because once someone is diagnosed, loved ones tend to rally around them. And as Bernie has shown us so well, these diseases, whether it's cancer or a precancerous condition, they really have such a lasting impact on people and their relatives. And I try to take care of my patients and their families as a group and recognize that their care is a team sport.
There's so many ways that we can take what you just said. I mean, I know we're here talking about liver disease, liver cancer. Pancreatic cancer has a stigma attached to it as well. I mean, when people get that diagnosis, usually, there's not a lot of hope, but you're obviously walking proof that there is, but I think because you had that early intervention.
Yeah, it's two things, right? So people stigmatize why you got the cancer in the first place. So I was having, recurrent bouts of pancreatitis, and that's inflammation of the pancreas. It's often seen with excess drinking, but that wasn't my problem. My problem was I had a tumor ahead of my pancreas. And then the other part, and I'm so glad you're mentioning this, is it's never been more hopeful. Is cancer still a serious and sometimes life-threatening illness? Absolutely. But is the outcome, is the future of our patients with these cancers, has it ever been brighter? It hasn't. This is the best science has ever been able to do for them, and I'm living, walking proof of that. And I try to share that message with my patients, and I'm thrilled to be able to share it with your audience.
So my last question for you is, we're talking about the 4 bases and how important it is to find balance in your diagnosis. So you are a beyond successful doctor. People from New Jersey follow you. You've worked all throughout the country. So how did you balance your diagnosis with still helping your patients?
Oh, that's very gracious of you. Well, I mean, I couldn't have done it without my doctors. I couldn't have done it without my family. My wife is a physician, and she has been absolutely instrumental. And so it's really not about me. It's about recognizing that we all need a support system. And it's interesting. Bernie speaking to this shows that even our greatest athletes have illness in their lives. It can affect their relatives. Doctors are people too. We have to deal with healthcare problems. And once I got through the acute recovery from my pancreas cancer surgery, it just gave me new motivation. Bernie talked about having the right mindset. I think having the mindset of hope and optimism is hugely important. It doesn't take away your problems, but it's a huge attitude readjustment that allows you to tackle whatever's going to come.
Well, Bernie, you've had so much amazing moments in your life, and we'll start with the New York Yankees and all the successes that you had. I shared with you that it was a tradition when I was in high school. You made the World Series every year. So I would host a Game 1 Saturday night party to watch you and your teammates. And I can't believe we're over 20 years out from those moments. Do you reflect on that quite often, that moment of time for you?
Yes. But first of all, I want to I'm in awe of Dr. Lewis and his comments about him, suffering from cancer, and kind of have it from his father, and then being able to utilize his experience to have an even closer perspective on how to treat his patients. I think that's just a remarkable feat. So, I mean, I thought I had a story. But, it was just an amazing experience. I started playing baseball as a young kid when I was 8 years old. By the time I was 16, I was already signed to play professional baseball in the minor leagues, and I made it to the big leagues in 1991 with the Yankees. Played my 16-year career with them. I was part of great opportunities to go into the postseason. Like you said, every year we made it into the postseason, and we had such a great group of guys, a camaraderie with my teammates, my manager, and of course, the fans. The Yankee fans are arguably the best in the world when it comes to sports and supporting their teams. So it was just a dream come true for me, and I was just so glad that it's given me an opportunity to talk about things that are really dear and near to my heart as well.
Dr. Lewis and I were talking before you came on, Bernie, how, when you think of athletes, and especially those that have had success like you, they are invincible. They're immune to all these problems that we have in the real world, right? But when you were talking about, 20 years ago plus, your locker room had issues when it came to health, right? Joe Torre had cancer while he managed. Mel Stottlemyre, as a pitching coach, had cancer. Darryl Strawberry, as a player, had to deal with cancer. Derek Jeter, his sister was going through a cancer battle while he played. So there were these stories in your locker room, probably others that we all don't know. So how did you focus away from that and just leave it on the field?
I think it was really important for us, not only me individually, but us collectively as a team, to be this support system for, it was either our teammates or our coaches. Remember when Joe, was diagnosed, we were kind of like sort of rallied around him. I remember Mel also, with his ordeal, and it actually touches me even closer when you have a teammate that is suffering from cancer. When Darryl Strawberry was dealing with his condition, I remember him coming to spring training and having batting practice a couple of days after chemotherapy. And I know from the different experiences that people tell me how hard it is to deal with chemotherapy. And it was just a testament on how strong their minds were, and how much they needed us as a support system for them. And we were so glad to be there for them. And he just gave me a really interesting perspective in life, where you feel blessed that you are not going through this situation, but at the same time, you want to be there for the people that are, so you are part of their support system and helping them go through whatever they're going through. And it was just a great thing for me to be a part of.
Yeah, and it gave you perspective, if things seemed like they were down, okay, but there's real life things happening too in this locker room.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So Bernie, how have you parlayed all of your successes into baseball into music?
Well, there is actually a lot of similarities that I can find, as far as, the work ethic, the discipline, not dwelling on your mistakes, learning from them, moving on, performing under pressure. There's a lot of things that I was able to take from my experience on the field and take them into performing on stage with my band. There's not a lot of difference between the camaraderie and the team attitude that we need to have on the field, translating that into a team of musicians, a group, a band, where we have to sort of speak the same language and be like in sync, rhythmically, harmonically, and with our attitudes. So the baseball experience really helped me a lot into becoming the musician that I have become over the years.
And it probably helped bridge the transition, right? When you're an athlete, you're so regimented. There's such a schedule, especially in baseball. You play so many games. And, in talking to other athletes, it's hard to make that transition, but you had something to fall back on immediately.
Yes, it was really important for me to have something to fall back on, because I compared life as a baseball player is like driving a car 100 miles an hour, and that there's not a lot of room in your life for a lot of things. And you have to be at the top of your game, not only mentally, but physically, being able to take care of yourself and going through your, like health regimen, your training, and then being able to put all of that together with your mind, having a good disposition and a positive attitude. And then those two things are going together, and then you still have no control of the outcome of your performance. The games could go one way or the other. So that it's that unpredictability that actually drives me nuts because I never knew what was going to happen. But I knew that if I put in the work and I really did the things that I needed to do to prepare myself, I had that peace of mind. And with my God-given ability, I could let myself go thinking that I've done everything in my power to perform to the way that I was expecting of myself to perform. So it was just a great experience.
Well, this was a great experience. Dr. Lewis, Bernie, thank you so much for coming on here today, and for Eisai in Nutley bringing us together. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you for joining me on another episode of Your New Jersey. I'm Lisa Marie Falvo. We'll see you back here next week. Next week on Your New Jersey, Dina El Nabli from New Jersey Family Magazine is here to talk about family-friendly holiday events around the Garden State.
One of my favorite things every year is the Polar Express Christmas ride. And that one is just basically brings this classic story to life on the train. And there's a conductor who stamps your golden ticket.
And Dr. Laura Klein and Dr. Eleonora Toplinski of Valley Health Breast Imaging Center speak about how they are empowering women to take care of their health.
So I saw this opportunity to really continue to build and work with Dr. Klein and the team and create a place where not only are patients getting the best care, and I truly believe that, but a place where they feel at home.